Have you ever felt like you needed a couple more recon darts or shock darts in your life? Then this guide is going to be the one for you. We're going to check out some wonderful Sova, recon, and shock dart lineups here on Fracture. We're going to be showing you some for attack and some for defense. Both of these sides are going to be helpful for you in order getting your team onto site and getting some good info on either of those sites. So let's not waste any time and check out our first lineup here on Fracture. If you are looking for an equally effective dart towards A sands, but you are coming from A main, this recon dart is going to be wonderful for that. What you're going to want to do is put yourself in this corner lined up directly, or excuse me, not this corner. Put in this little wall lined up directly with this wall. Not this tiny corner right here, but lined up directly with this wall. From there, you're going to want to take a look again at this grid pattern on the wall. You're going to want to take a look at specifically this line right here, the second line to the right, and where it intersects with the top gray bar right there. You're going to want to make sure that your crosshair is perfectly right there. From there, you're going to give yourself a singular bounce and a double charge on the recon and let it go.
Revealing area.
As said, this one travels all the way above A main and lands sand again. A slightly different placement than the other one's sand. This one maybe revealing someone who is sitting towards rope right there, or maybe someone who is just sitting towards site like here. The timing of this recon works very, very wonderfully in the sense that when it lands is about when you are going to be pushing into site. So if anyone is holding towards sands, you can go ahead and wall bang them through the door like so, or it'll just give you ample amount of time for your team to effectively push towards site and make sure that no one is pushing you from behind. Alternatively, if you are pushing from A main and you know that there is someone sitting top site, or you just know that there are enemies who are not sitting towards sand, this recon's going to be just perfect for that. What you're going to want to do is put yourself in between the little king's box and this box like so. From there, you're going to want to take a look at this little bar line, specifically this top part like so. When you pull out your charge bar, you're going to make sure that the bottom left tip of your charge bar touches it. From there, just move it a couple of centimeters up. Give yourself a 2 charge. No bounce. This one will land perfectly top site like the other one from Dish. And this one is going to, again, reveal anyone who is top site, even anyone who's maybe sitting towards A main a little bit more, and gives you just a bunch of info if you want to go ahead and push A. Switching sides over towards the attacker side, we are now going to show you a wonderful recon pushing into A site from Dish. This one, again, is going to be a bit revealing, so make sure that you have at least another teammate here, or make sure you can get this recon off very, very quickly, because you could have someone pushing you from here or here satellite. But assuming that is not the case, what you're going to want to do is put yourself in this corner next to a friendly little rock right here. You're then going to want to take a good look at this huge gray metal bar right here, specifically this little part right here next to this lighter line. From there, you're going to want to make sure that your crosshair is lined up like so, with that line intersecting with that gray bar. Give yourself 1 bounce and a full charge and let it go. And as you can be able to tell, this is also the exact same placement for a retake dart on A on defense. This one, again, going to show you a lot of top site, let you know if there's anyone who is starting to push towards A main, or let you know if there's anyone who is holding closer to site drop.
Right here.
If your first recon dart onto A from Dish isn't really tagging anyone, or there's just not anyone holding towards site and there's more people holding towards sand, if you can go ahead and push with your team a little bit up towards Dish and up towards satellite, let's say you're split pushing and you have people pushing A main, this recon dart will be wonderful for that. So assuming you don't shoot one onto site right here, what you're going to want to do is put yourself onto these stairs right here. Keep an eye on this gray line. Make sure it is intersecting with the right side of this wall like so. Keep an eye on where that little top dot is. You're going to want to put your cursor, you're going to want to put your crosshair in between that dot and the dark gray part. Give yourself a 1 bounce on that and a full charge.
Scanning ahead.
When you let that go, that tags right here and gives your team info if anyone is holding towards sand, or if anyone is holding towards this part on site, or the top right here from rope. The differences from both recon darts from Dish are a bit subjective. It really depends on how the other enemy team is playing, if they're just stacking A site, or if they're maybe holding off more towards their CT. You have to play it a bit to your discretion, but ultimately knowing where the team is the key and the goal that helps you get your kills, that helps your team push sites more effectively. So as long as you're getting info, either of those darts works wonderfully. Now, for the other plant position when it comes to peeking A main is going to be right here, as I said. To go ahead and get a shock dart lineup for that plant, you're going to want to go ahead and put yourself in this corner right here. You thankfully have this box to cover you, however, this box is completely wall bangable, so if there is an enemy holding that left corner and they see your shock dart leave from this corner, you are most likely dead in a ditch. But assuming that isn't the case, you're going to want to make sure you're in this little corner as much as possible. From there, you're going to want to take a look at that little nut or bolt right there. When you pull out your charge bar, you're going to want to go ahead and make sure that your diamond, your second diamond, is intersecting with this top line and this bottom line like so. From there, you're going to want to go ahead and give yourself 1 bounce and a 2 charge. Doing so will detonate it right there and even have the added benefit of tagging anyone who is sitting up here trying to peek this angle like so. Both shock dart positions are a bit unscrupulous in terms of where you go ahead and place your character, so just be aware of that. But assuming the enemy doesn't know where you are, you should be able to get a decent 60 to 80 damage to 1 or more enemies. For our first shock dart, we're going to be taking a look at this plant in the corner like so. To go ahead and shoot a shock dart there, you're going to want to go ahead and put yourself in this little corner next to this box. Pull out your shock dart. Be aware of where this sign is, specifically where the black intersects the red. You're going to want to make sure that the second bar in your charge bar is overlapping the red and the black. From there, you're also going to want to go ahead and make sure that the far right side of your charge bar is intersecting, or excuse me, is lined up perfectly with this gray bar right here. So it'll look a little something like that when you have it all lined up. Then from there, it is a very simple 1 bounce and a full charge. As you can see, follows pretty quickly, goes off pretty quickly, and we'll make sure that no one is going to go ahead and defuse that as you peek. Finally, we have our last shock dart lineup here for A and for the entire map. This one is going to be going towards the plant on default behind this box. Now, depending on whether or not the plant is more over towards this side or over towards that side, I will let y'all know depending on how many bounces you need to give it. But for our placement, we're going to go ahead and put ourselves in the exact same placement as the other shock dart. This time, you're going to want to take a look at this corner of the wall right here. You're going to want to put your crosshair slightly under the exact corner, like so. Give yourself 2 bounce and a simple, immediately pull and charge.
Shock dart.
With the double bounce, it ends up getting both plant spots like so. However, if you would like to maybe be a little bit more certain, if you know that it is planted more towards the right, you can go ahead and just give yourself 1 bounce on that, and it should very easily just get that one a little bit quicker. Hopefully you can get a couple more points of damage if they decide to go ahead and try to defuse it over here. For me as a player, I believe that shooting these shock darts from Dish give you a little bit more safe space if you are one of the only people left in the round. It makes sure that no one is going ahead and pushing you very quickly and very fastly. They have to make at least some sort of noise if they want to go ahead and jump up here, so you are aware of that. And even though this map is very, very flank heavy, hopefully by the time the end of this round happens, there shouldn't be anyone pushing you flank, so you shouldn't have anything to worry about in terms of flank. But overall, I would say if you are looking to either choose Dish or A main for shooting your shock darts, I would definitely suggest Dish. Taking a look from the other direction, if you are deciding to go ahead and hold drop after the plant and you want to get some good shock darts onto the site, these ones will be very, very helpful. The first shock dart we're going to be looking at is going to be for the bomb placement right here. You're going to want to go ahead and put yourself in this tiny little corner right here. You're going to want to go ahead and make a note of this little corner of the wall ceiling. Pull out your shock dart, make sure you are covering that corner precisely with your crosshair. Give yourself 1 bounce and 1 charge and let it go. Falls beautifully right there. Lets your teammates who are hopefully holding A main be able to peek and see that there is no one defusing, and overall just gives you a little bit extra time for your team to retake the site if there's anyone who is trying to defuse. Starting towards A side on defense, we're going to be showing you our first recon dart. This one is going to be going into Dish, specifically a little bit behind towards their spawn, right around there. Again, most of these setups are going to be a bit risky in terms of placement of your character. Just be aware of where the enemy team is at all times again. But without that, what you're going to want to do is put yourself in this corner right here as far as you can into it. From here, you're just going to want to go ahead and look up to this little bar line right here next to this pipe. You're going to want to put your crosshair around the middle of there. From there, you're going to want to then give yourself 1 charge on your recon and let it go.
Scanning ahead.
This one will fly all the way over and land right here, giving you a decent view of people who are just sitting in their spawn, maybe waiting for you to push, or people who are starting to push up dish. Glancing over towards A main, we have a couple of different recon darts here for you to go ahead and suss out who is going through A main. Our first one here, you're just going to want to go ahead and put yourself into this corner next to this little triangle. From there, you're going to want to take a look at this little grid pattern on the wall. Specifically, this intersection right here is going to be 1, 2, 1 down, and right here in the top right. From there, pull out your recon, give yourself 1 bounce and a 2-bar charge.
Scanning ahead.
This one then travels all the way above site, or excuse me, above A main, and then reveals anyone who's either still sitting in their spawn or walking in towards A main. This dart for me works really, really well because not only does it give you a good set of information whether they are pushing towards A main or not, it sort of gives you the opportunity whether you want to be a bit more passive or aggressive. As I just showed you with the amount of time it takes for that dart to land, you can either choose to sit back on site like I just did, or maybe push in a little bit towards A main to hopefully help your team get more pieces of the site. Additionally, this dart can also help confuse the enemy team as it will be landing behind the majority of them. The time it takes for it to land will probably give them enough time to push through to A main somewhere around here. So if they are not looking behind them or not ready for that arrow, it will give you a very, very good chance to be a bit more aggressive and maybe catch a couple of them off guard. Quick little disclaimer when it comes to retaking A, because there are so many different little corners and such on the site, you're not really going to be able to reveal everyone and anyone who is going to be standing on site. So as long as you're aware with that with this Retake Recon, you should be just fine. Shoot this recon onto A, what you're going to want to go ahead and do is take a look at this big blue crack right here. Make sure you're lined up with it directly, staring at this wonderful white wall, watching the paint dry. From there, you're going to want to take a look at this second left little metal bar thing, like so. Here. From there, when you pull out your recon, you're going to want to make sure that the left side of your charge bar is lined up with that, like so. From there, you just give yourself a simple 1 charge pull and let it go.
Revealing area.
This will travel through the ceiling, land right here on top site, and again, like I said, not give you everyone's information on site, but at least let you know if there's anyone holding heaven so you can blast through this wall, let you know if there's anyone holding towards A main like so, or give you a quick insight if anyone is holding a little bit towards drop. If your team gets the info that there is no one holding arcade or heaven, or you just feel like being a bit cheeky, you can go ahead and try this next recon dart. This one will maybe give your team a bit more info, but could also cost you your life if anyone is holding this little corner towards arcade. But assuming they are not, you're going to want to go ahead and put yourself in this first little corner like so. You're going to want to take a look at this second mossy part to the right, not this one, but this one right here. Pull out your shock dart, give yourself 1 bounce, or excuse me, pull out your recon, give it a full charge.
Revealing area.
This one will land perfectly towards generator right here, giving your team all the info they need to go ahead and push in from B main. But again, just knowing where the enemy is the entirety of it. So if there's anyone holding here and you decide to go ahead and shoot that without any help, you could open yourself up to an easy death. On to the next recon dart. This one is going to be from B arcade. This one is going to be more of a aggressive pushing dart. You're going to want to make sure that your team is set up and ready to push arcade so that you and your team can coordinate effectively. But first, you're going to want to make sure that you put yourself in this corner right here. Take a look at this huge size skyscraper right here, specifically the farthest left tip of it. You're going to want to make sure that the bottom of your crosshair is just touching the tip of that. You're going to then want to go ahead and give yourself a singular bar of charge and let it go.
Area.
This will travel above this little part of the site and tag right here towards heaven.
Scanning ahead.
Revealing heaven as you go ahead and push towards arcade is a very, very useful recon dart. It allows you and your team to maybe push this a little bit more aggressively, knowing that there is no one going to be pushing that as while the recon is down. And if anyone does decide to push that while the recon is down, you'll either get the notification that your recon was shot, or you'll get the notification that they're tagged through the wall, in which case you can go ahead and get your team ready to shoot. Lastly, for our recons over towards arcade, this one is going to maybe give your team a little bit more info towards site when they're pushing from B main. So this one, you're going to go ahead and stand in the exact same position as the last one, going towards Gen, except this time, instead of aiming towards the moss right here, you're going to want to aim towards the other moss over here on top of this little ceiling. From there, you're going to want to go ahead and make sure that your crosshair is lined up with that line like so, and the moss like so. And it is a very simple one charge and pull.
Scanning ahead.
This will travel all the way across site, landing right here, giving your team all the info that they could possibly need to go ahead and push through B main, letting them know if there's anyone holding canteen, or let them know if there's anyone even touching the site. If you can go ahead and get this arrow off, in my opinion, it is one of the best ones from arcade. Not only does it let you know if there's anyone who is maybe even towards this close corner right here, towards canteen, it just gives your team an overall more aggressive peek and lets you know if there's anyone who may potentially peek you as you're pushing out of arcade. For our next recon dart, this one is going to be if you know that the enemy is either not playing on site or maybe you want a little bit more extra info from their spawn. This recon dart towards B is going to be just wonderful for that. First thing you're going to want to do is put yourself in this corner right here. Give the little mossy part a kiss. Mwah. Then, from there, you're going to want to take a look at this little V/U-shaped indent where the trees don't align. When you pull out your recon, you're going to want to make sure that the first diamond on the left is basically overlapping the two like so. Give yourself a singular bar of charge and let it go.
Scanning ahead.
This bar will travel all the way over here, land right here, making sure anyone who is sitting Gen is tagged. Lets you know if anyone is pushing over towards here, and lets you know if there's anyone who is holding this corner on CT. For me personally, when it comes to pushing this site on Fracture, I would say this dart right here towards Generator is going to be a bit more useful. While there are normally people on site, generally you're going to be taking that duel with one or two other people if you're pushing as a team. So you should be able to get those guys dealt with fairly certain, depending on if you have other util to use, a raise bot, a jet dash, anything of the sort. So just be aware of that, but overall, that recon towards Gen will hopefully net you a lot of very, very easy kills. Now that we've gone over a plethora of recons for attacking over on A, let's check out some recons for attacking over on B. This first one is going to be fairly simple. It'll be one that you kind of expose yourself to the enemy again, so just be aware of that. Always be aware of where you are and where your placement of your character is. But assuming you have all that in mind, what you're going to want to do is take a look at this top bar right here with the green moss. You're going to want to make sure that your crosshair is lined up right there. You're going to give yourself one bounce. This one kind of can move around. You don't have to really be that precise with it. Just make sure you give yourself one bounce and a full charge.
Revealing area.
When you let it go, this one will land perfectly in the middle of site like so. Let you know if there's anyone directly on site, or let you know if there's anyone who is even sitting towards here. This little slant in the ground covering this box is a very, very popular placement for any enemies right here. So putting your recon dart towards here will hopefully catch a couple of them off guard. They might be able to very quickly go ahead and shoot it. So make sure, again, you are always changing up your recon darts as much as possible, because complacency for Sovas means death. With all of our recon darts out of the way, we are now going to take a look at some shock dart lineups. Our first one is going to be for B, specifically for the plant right here. This is probably the most safest plant that you can have on Fracture. It is very obvious if you go ahead and plant here towards this box. However, it might be the only one that is possible when you are planting. So just be aware of that when you have these shock darts, and be aware of where the bomb is planted. For our first shock dart location, it is again going to take place towards arcade. In fact, in the exact same spot as some of the other recon darts. This time, our aim location is going to be towards this metal ring right here. You're going to want to go ahead and then pull out your shock dart. Give yourself a 1 bar charge. Make sure, again, you are lined up with the corner of this. Give yourself 1 bar charge. Let it go. Travels all the way across the map and lands right there. You are fairly far away from the site when you shoot these, so just be aware of that. Be aware of where the rest of your team is if they are still alive. Maybe this might not be the best thing for you to go to if you're in a 1vx situation. But assuming you have at least another teammate, this one could be very helpful for at least making sure they are not immediately on the bomb. If you'd like to be a bit closer to bomb when planting on B safe, then this next shock dart lineup is going to be exactly where you're going to want to place yourself. You're going to want to then put yourself B main instead of B arcade. Put yourself towards this wall like so. Make sure that you can see this bar line on the side of this wall. From there, you're going to want to aim slightly to the right of it, making sure that the top and bottom of your crosshair are lined up perfectly with the right side of the bar. Give yourself 2 bounces and a full charge. Let it go. Travels all the way and lands right there where they're planting. In my opinion, this shock dart lineup is a little bit better of placement for your character if you're wanting to go ahead and contest the plant and not just leaving it up to your shock darts. However, if you know that the enemy is very low and there is only 1 or 2 of them, then you might be able to go ahead and pull off the other shock darts over towards arcade. But assuming that you want to go ahead and get an extra peek or maybe an extra recon dart, you're going to want to go ahead and take a gander at this shock dart from B main. Conversely, from our last dart, we are now going to be checking out a dart for B arcade. This one is going to be fairly simple, not giving away your position at all. What you're going to want to do is put yourself in the corner of generator right here. Take a good peek at this little intersection of the leaves and the bars up here from the ceiling. From there, you're just going to want to go ahead and give yourself 1 bounce and a full charge in between those leaves and those bars and let it rip.
Scanning ahead.
This one travels all the way above, bounces down, and lands right here towards arcade, revealing anyone who is deciding to push or anyone who is deciding to go ahead and throw some util right here. What I love most about all of these recon darts from Sova for the most part is they can either both be used as info, maybe just something that you want to let your team know that, hey, there might be someone towards arcade, or you can use it to maybe take a little bit more control of the map, as I was saying before with the other recon darts. You can sort of play it around your team and around how you're playing the match, but overall, this one towards arcade gives you not only a great amount of info, but a great amount of insight on where the team will be going. Taking a peek over towards B site, we are going to have our first recon dart. This one is going to be aiming towards B main right here, towards this other backside, a little bit more towards tree. What you're going to want to do is get in this corner right here. From here, you're going to want to go ahead and put the top of your charge bar lining up with the top of this little ceiling roof thing. And just as a little added extra thing, I also like to put the top left side of my charge bar
Right here.
just connecting right there to that line like so. From there, you're just going to give yourself a 1 charge on this and let it go. As you can see, this one lands right here, very high up, gives you a good view of people who are not only pushing B main, but also people who are just deciding to sit back here, whether they're throwing util or doing anything of the sort. I feel like this arrow really works well if your team wants to be maybe a little bit more aggressive in their pushes when they're holding sites. Maybe it gives you a little bit more map control towards either B or A, depending on where you're throwing your recons. But this recon for sure gives you a very, very good view of B main, lets you know if there's anyone pushing there, making sure that you have someone holding arcade. You and maybe another teammate might be able to push down here, go through under, or maybe go through their CT and get a very, very easy flank. Now, when it comes to retaking sites with Sova, we're going to be first taking a look at our Retake Recon for B. This one is going to be a pretty fast and quick recon, so you're going to want to make sure that your team is ready to push onto site. That way they can't just go ahead and destroy this one immediately. What you're going to want to do is put yourself in this corner right here. If the enemy has already been pushed up towards Gen, this might be a bit exposing of you, so just be aware of that. But assuming you are not exposing yourself from Gen or from behind right here, you're going to want to go ahead and make a note of this bar right here, this metal plate. You're going to want to put your crosshair just slightly below that plate to where the top of your crosshair is touching the bottom of it. You're going to want to then give yourself 1 bounce and a simple full charge.
Revealing area.
Again, this one goes really fast and just sort of throws itself onto site for anyone either heaven or on site to shoot. So make sure that your team is pushing in at the exact same time as this is happening, or else it'll be very, very bad. Another key thing to know if you are Sova, let's say that you are doing a solo retake, an arrow like this could provide a lot of use, but it could also be very, very damaging. It could give you a false sense of hope. There are many, many places for the enemy to hide from this arrow. They can either choose to hide here in this corner, or they can choose to hide somewhere around main. So if you are pushing this alone or with not that many people, and you're using that recon dart, maybe try figuring out another one, or be aware that they could just be full on hiding and not trying to shoot your dart. I hope you guys enjoyed all the lineups. That is going to do it for us today. Thank you all so very much for checking out the video. It means the absolute world to me. We will be putting more of these out in the next coming weeks. Again, uploads every Tuesday and Thursday. We should be getting back to form very, very soon, so keep an eye out on the uploads. Let me know in the comments if there are any better Sova lineups for this map. Let me know what you think of this map in general, if you think it's too flank heavy, or if you think it's just the right amount. Let me know any other agents you'd like me to cover, and I will definitely see you guys on the next video.